Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk, the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Good to be with you here today. It's going to be a great day just because I've decided that. And if you want to have a good day, all you got to do is decide that for yourself as well. It's something I learned, and you might have learned as well, that happiness sometimes takes place between the heart and between the ears. So it doesn't matter what's going on out there necessarily, per se. It's a matter of what's going on inside of you, and it's Friday. So happy Friday, everyone. If it makes a difference to you, some people it does. So for some people, it's the last day of their work week. And for myself, along with doing this, I also work full time. This is a part-time volunteer gig for me, doing the Sudbury News here on CKLU 96.7 FM every weekday morning between 7:30 and 8:30. And it's something where we're on the radio, we're online streaming at cklu.ca. So if you go there, you click on the Radio Player Canada app logo. There's a player that opens and we stream there. There's also, you can download the Radio Player Canada app by clicking on the logo and downloading the Radio Player Canada app. So you can listen to us anytime, anywhere on your favorite device. So with that, you can also catch us live streaming, video streaming that is, on CKLU. Not video streaming on CKLU, but video streaming on Facebook.com/Sudbury News or YouTube.com/Sudbury News. And I'd like to give a shout out to Anna this morning. Good morning. We don't have our comments working because I'm at a different studio on a different, in a different studio with different technology. And for some reason, we weren't able to get the comments working on the screen here. We were yesterday because I was at my home studio. Good morning, Lynn. Nice to see you. And Shane, yes, it is Friday. Yes, so that's why it's also October the 28th. 3 days before Halloween. So if you are a person that gets out and participates in Halloween in any shape or form, know that Monday is Halloween. Just as a reminder, after the weekend. So we are currently allowing a few viewers to come on here before we get to our weather. And then we're going to have a little bit of sports. The Wolves are in action tonight and tomorrow night. You can catch that game right here on CKLU. And David Bowen should have the call, the son of the legendary Joe Bowen, who's also, he's from Coniston, actually, and he does the Toronto Maple Leafs games. Very iconic. He's the Holy Mackinac guy, if for some people who aren't aware of who Joe Bowen is, who calls the games for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He used to do the Sudbury Wolves, and now his son, following in his footsteps, David Bowen, new to the Sudbury Wolves broadcast team, will be on the call tonight. We'll talk more about that after the weather. We'll get into the headlines. We got a new co-host today, guest, Brian, who tried to get on yesterday and for some reason was not able to, but we did a little troubleshoot last night. Brian Poulin, formerly of Pocket Mobile, owned his own cell service, his own cell phone company, and which is really interesting. I met him through as a business associate through a business program that we were both involved in. And he's going to be our tech guy, basically. Anything to do with tech, he'll be on the show today talking about those things. And I sent him out on a mission to find out if the voter system that we're using in Sudbury is actually either legit or trustworthy and all that stuff. If there's any concerns we need to have, because of the last time it crashed for like a day, and this time it crashed a bit too. And I was kind of just thinking, I'm not sure if I really 100% think this online voting thing, is it legit? Should we be concerned? Because there's checks and balances in the way for, paper ballot voting, where you can go and there's people watching and and making sure that nothing is going on, and then counting, and there's all kinds of checks and balances. But then since then, now we're starting to vote online. We're also starting to have mail-in votes, which there were some glitches there. People received more than one ballot, and some people received 0. So that there's some issues there. Anyways, so we'll get to all that. Facebook Live.com/Sudbury News, YouTube Live.com/Sudbury News. We'll try and monitor your comments as much as we possibly can. But for now, let's get to a little bit of the weather. And we'll be back right after this. And as usual, weather keeps happening no matter what we want, say, do. Weather will continue to change, and we'll continue to try and keep you up to date on it. This weather report on CKLU and on Facebook and YouTube Live, brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. It's currently 0 degrees Celsius. Feels like -3 as the temperatures start to dip. We're kind of seasonal temperatures. And as I heard on the drive in, it's actually above seasonal temperatures in the forecast. So we'll get to that in a second. Humidity is about 93%, mix of sun and cloud today, high of 8. And the wind will be gusting from the south by about 40 kilometers. The high of 8, like I said, UV index 2. Tonight, clear, becoming partly cloudy overnight. Fog patches developing after midnight, low of +1. Saturday, mainly cloudy, clearing near noon. Fog patches dissipating this morning, in the morning, sorry. And then wind will be irregular, 20 to 40 kilometers from the southwest, high of 12 degrees tomorrow. Here's a look at your long range again, clearing. Should have some sun, high of 12 tomorrow. Sunday, mix of sun and cloud, high of 12. So basically ditto days for the weekend. Looks rather lovely if you want to get out and enjoy it. Monday, talking about some clouds, high of 13. Mix of sun and cloud for Tuesday, Wednesday. They're not calling for showers at this point anyways until Thursday, and that's a 60% chance of showers. A look at your satellite over northern Ontario, kind of what it looks like. Mix of sun and cloud, just like we talked about. And that's your weather. It's actually very nice. Get out and enjoy it. It was calling for rain before on Halloween, so now it looks a little better in the forecast for us to enjoy it. And for the little ones, it's always nice to have nice weather during Halloween. So anyways, that's your weather, brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. We'll be back with a little bit of sports and catch up on a little bit of how the Wolves are doing and have been doing and how they will be doing in the future. All right, let's get to some sports. So, like I said, the Sudbury Wolves in action this weekend. So Friday, Saturday, Sarnia, London, and they're looking to work their way out of the OHL basement. So that's where they find themselves, second last. And there's currently 3 wins, 5 losses, and 1 tie. But didn't receive any favors from the schedule makers. So they're on a long road swing right now. Sarnia tonight, London on Saturday. But there are some reasons. This is from Randy Pascal, who is that Sudbury sports guy, SudburySports.com. He was nice enough to send basically the breakdown of what we should be looking for in the road swing with the Sudbury Wolves coming up. There's reasons for optimism. Not only are the Wolves facing a pair of teams that are also flirting around the 500 mark, so they're also not doing all that well. Sarnia is currently 5 wins, 4 losses. London is 3 wins, 4 losses. But the Wolves have also enjoyed some recent success versus Sarnia Sting. So, in fact, Sudbury maintains a winning all-time record against Sarnia, 25 wins, 23 losses, 3 ties. Anyways, albeit one skewed by a very impressive, we've beaten Sarnia mostly at home, so it doesn't really show how we're going to do on the road. And really, these are all different teams over the years, and it's a whole different season. So that's just a bit of a tidbit. So this Friday's encounter will mark the first time in more than a decade that the Wolves will make the trip to Sarnia prior to November the 1st, a couple days before November the 1st. Dropping a 7-2 decision back on October the 1st, 2011. So we're going back quite a few years here. Randy really digs in. He's the Sudbury Wolves historian. He knows quite a lot of facts to do with the Sudbury Wolves. So, you know, if you're interested in all that, go to sudburysports.com and you can look into all of that. So then after tonight's game in Sarnia, which you can catch right here on CKLU, the Wolves will be in action against the London Knights, which they're usually a really good team, but for some reason this year haven't fared all that well for some reason. But again, the season is young. But things are not as so rosy when it comes to the London Knights, with the Hunter clan currently in the midst of a mind-boggling 18-game win streak opposite the team that both Dave and Dale Hunter played for, which are the Sudbury Wolves. So London has beat the Sudbury Wolves 18 games in a row. So if you're able to catch us on the game and cheer them on, you never know. Maybe there's some power in just cheering on from afar and backing up your Sudbury Wolves. One has to go all the way back to February the 18th, 2011 to find a Sudbury Wolves victory against the Western Conference powerhouse, which would be the London Knights. Ironically, the Wolves actually swept the home-at-home series against London that season, beating the London Knights 4-1 on the road. And one of 5 times that the local juniors would win, twice in the 2 games interconference series that has now been running for the past 30 years. So 2011 is the last time we beat the London Knights. So catch the game right here, CKLU 96.7. Puck drops usually around 7 o'clock, but you can look at Sudbury, go to sudburywolves.com to catch game times and things like that. I just don't have the information in front of me. I will know it as soon as we come off the show. It's usually 7 o'clock. Catch the games tonight and tomorrow night on CKLU. We'll be back with some of the headlines, some things we're going to talk about today. Pretty exciting show lined up. Looking at having Brian joining us momentarily as well, Brian Poulet, and talking about the voting system, the software that we used here in Sudbury, and just to see if there's anything we as Sudburyans should be concerned about, or if everything's hunky-dory and you know, everything's all good. We'll be back right after this. All right, and you can catch everything, all the headlines, everything you need to know on Sudbury.news is where we have pretty much, we have all the local news, because the idea of that was to have a news aggregator that can take all local news, put it into one place, so that way people knew where they could find news right away. Like if you go to any of the other local news, and that's where we take it from, and bless their souls, they are the local journalism, and we need local journalism. We need to support it, and we do. We support local journalism on this site and as Sudbury News, because basically we take their stories, we unpack them, we discuss them. And shout out to David. Good morning. I don't have our comments working, David, as you know. But anyways, good morning. So all things Sudbury News on Sudbury.news. We take only Sudbury-centric stories and put them on there. Because if you're looking just for local news per se, and you go to, let's say, CBC, Sudbury, it's basically not just Sudbury, and they don't share very many stories about Sudbury. They just don't. You might catch 2 a day, 2 stories that they might share about Sudbury. Then you have CTV Northern Ontario. That's all in the name, right? CTV Northern Ontario. It's all about Northern Ontario. It's not just about Sudbury. Then you have the Sudbury Star, which I know there's a constant commenter that I remember seeing on the Sudbury Star who was very frustrated and said, why aren't you sharing more Sudbury news? It's all around, international, national, and regional news, not very much local news. And I remember the frustration that one person had. Shared that comment quite a bit, actually, on Sudbury Star's Facebook page. I think they're doing a lot better now. I know there's a lot more local stories coming through the Sudbury Star, which I really appreciate. And then Sudbury.com, which is probably the better of the news outlets to cover a lot of Sudbury stories. However, they are a conglomerate that started in Sault Ste. Marie. They're called Village Media. They bought Laurentian Publishing, which used to be Northern Life and Sudbury.com later on. And so they bought them, and now so they have a lot of, and they're all over North America. They might even start branching out into the world for all I know. But they have a lot of stories that aren't Sudbury-centric anymore. And so the idea for Sudbury.news was to have news that's basically coming in from all of these outlets, but one place where you don't have to sift through and wait for a Sudbury story. You can just get all the Sudbury stories in a row from all of these different outlets. So if CBC, let's say, had a Sudbury story, we're going to grab that. It's going to be on the page, and then it's going to grab all the Sudbury.com, the Sudbury Star, CTV, anything that has to do with Sudbury. And not only that, then we try and glean out the sports out of that too, and then have a separate Sudbury sports section. So it just takes the Sudbury sports and puts it in its own category. Good morning, Jerome. Hope you're having a good day. Thanks for joining us. As usual, you're here pretty much every day, and always enjoy your comments. So that's Sudbury News' Facebook page, which is different from our website. So our Facebook page then is a little different. We will just take the Facebook stories from these different outlets and share them on our Facebook page. But on Sudbury.news, which is our website, you can catch all of the, it's a news aggregator. So let's see some of the stories we're covering on just from our Facebook page, the things that we were sharing. This was what I thought was interesting, was more Canadians than ever have no religious affiliation, a census shows. And I thought that was interesting because I had a different story from a local version of that. So let's just check here. I shared it with myself on my email. So you're just going to see here. And it was from Sudbury.com. They had a poll. And it was like, in Sudbury, how many people still have a religious affiliation? And 30% said that they do have a religious affiliation. There was 42% that said they don't have a religious affiliation, but they're spiritual. 16% said that they were atheist, and 124 people said they were agnostic, or 10%. There were almost 1,200 people that chimed in on this survey, however, so that's a good cross-section of the city. It doesn't 100% line up with the survey in Toronto, so I just wanted to kind of show the difference between these two stories, right? So more Canadians than ever have no religious affiliation. Canadians are losing their religion at an unprecedented rate, with more than a third of the country reporting no religious affiliation in the latest census, Statistics Canada revealed Wednesday. And while the latest data from the 2021 census shows the proportion of non-religious Canadians has more than doubled in the past 20 years to 34.6%, up from 16.5% in 2001. The share of the country who identify as Christian has shrunk. They made up 53% of the population, down from 63% in 2011 and 77% in 2001. So in 2001, 77% of people that said they had a religious affiliation were 77% in 2001 were Christian, and then it came down in 2011 to 67%, and that is now down to 53%. So some of the reasons for that, which has been out in the news recently as well, have been that 25% of our population now in this country are new Canadians, people who have newly arrived in the country, and may account for some of the drop in the percentages of religious affiliation. But nonetheless, I think just personally, it's a little alarming, or is it? I don't know. Is it alarming that there's not as much of a religious affiliation to people? I think there could be a direct correlation to, religion, as bad as it can be, as a lot of people say there's bad sides to it, which everything is good and bad. Carried with it people that at least adhere to, by and large, a strong moral or ethical base for their life, like a core, right? Which then, if you have that spiritually, it means you don't need the law to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. And then you become, hopefully, a citizen that contributes in a more positive way, and you're not out there to take down society. You're out there to build up society. And so I don't know. I think there's probably a direct correlation between some of the things we're seeing in the breakdown of our society today and the less of religious affiliation that we're seeing. Jerome says Northern Life was our community newspaper as well, which they did stop a few years ago. Actually, one of the first communities to do that, to stop their local paper, which I kind of like the fact that we had a local paper as well. Unfortunately, not too many people reading the paper, but it's just a sign of the times, right? So unfortunately, too, I do miss that. So after all the lies mainstream media has spewed concerning vaccinations, they have no credibility. So mainstream media, I guess, is what you're speaking about. And it's probably even lower because saying you belong to a religion and actually practicing that religion are two different things. Well, thank you very much, Shane. That's exactly right. There's the people that, even to quote, they said Christian. So even to quote the leader of the Christian community, there's those who draw near unto God with their mouths, but their hearts are far from him. Right? So there you go. So there's, I guess, God himself in, if you read the New Testament, which would be accepted by Christians as their canonized scripture, would even agree with what you're saying. And that is true. And I do believe that as well. So if we're actually practicing it, or just saying we were born into it, or our family belongs to it, are one thing. But I just really wanted to make that kind of point that Sudbury, actually it looks more similar than what I thought with the national averages when you take the Sudbury poll. And you can find all the survey results on Sudbury.com. They have a survey section. And it looks like Brian will be joining us momentarily as he gets ready. He's just going to be gearing up for our show. Just want to let everyone know, if you're looking forward to the Pros versus Joes basketball competition, it was postponed till December the 29th. So ticket holders can either get a refund or hold on to their ticket for the rescheduled event. Pros versus Joes is basically, some community people taking on members of the Sudbury Five. And that's always a fun time. And the proceeds go to charity usually. So that's, if you want to get out and support that, would be great. That's December 29th, so very close to New Year's. I don't know if anyone's heard about this that's going on. Doug Ford and his wanting to cut red tape to address the housing crisis. He's looking at doing some things that will take regulations away even from municipalities to encourage the building of multi-unit dwellings. So right now, I don't know if you know, but Sudbury is a really hard place to build anything, to do anything business-wise. It's almost like they're punishing you. Oh, I want to open a business. Oh, you're punished. You're going to have to pay for permits, this, that, and the other. Cost you $30,000 before you even put a shovel in the ground, for crying out loud. And so it deters a lot of people. So Doug Ford is the Ford government's trying to do something to alleviate that and make it easier. Also, something a Nick is going to be part of is the Sudbury pageant for women over 25. Puts its spin on tradition. Delegates from communities across Canada will be coming to Sudbury for the Mrs. and Miss Empower You. They'll have speakers, all kinds of stuff at the Northbury Hotel. That's tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it's a whole conference kind of thing going on. Wow, it starts a lot earlier than I thought. I thought Nick was saying 9 p.m. Yesterday. Starts at 9 a.m., so make sure you're ready and able to get started early in the morning. We're just getting Brian all set up there. We'll have Brian coming on the show talking about the voting system that we've used, giving a little bit of his background, as we'll be having him on the show more regularly to talk tech. But first, Finlandia Village to host a taste of Finland at home, which is always cool. Fundraiser. That'll be Thursday, November the 24th. Curbside dinner, $75. Pre-purchase and reserve your dinner by November 18th while availability lasts. Now, having said that, you'll definitely want to get tickets or get, to reserve your dinner, because if you don't, you won't get one. I know that already. It's going to be sold out. So make sure to get your tickets for that or prepay for your meal. Finlandia Foundation at Finlandia Village. And it's the third installment of the Taste of Finland. You can call 705-524-3137 extension 249, or just go to our Facebook page and click on that link that we shared from the Sudbury Star. Brian Bigger congratulates Mayor-elect Paul Lefebvre. So that's always nice. Maybe we'll unpack that with Brian later. And then again, Ford housing plan raises northern concerns. The province's recent announcement of a new housing supply chain may put an extra financial burden on local communities. So we'll have to see if that's true or not. Maybe we'll unpack that with Brian as well. And without further ado, we have Brian Poulet joining us here on the show. Good morning, Brian. How you doing, my friend?
Good morning. Was a little pressed for time. Wasn't sure if I was going to make it, but I made it.
Well, I'm glad. And this is your first time on the show.
It is. I'm excited. Yeah.
You have, obviously watched the show, and we've been friends for quite some time, right? So,
sure. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your background. You are a veteran, so let's start with that. And
Sure.
give us a little background on that. What made you want to get into serving our country, and then what did you do while you were in the service?
Sure. So, I joined because, I was in a rough patch in life, and I kind of knew what I wanted to do from the onset. So when I was done with high school, I joined up because I wanted to be part of something, bigger than myself. Help others that really can't fight for themselves, for democracy. So I did that, and I started off with in communications, and sort of made my way around during my 15-year tenure here and there, seen a lot of parts of the world, maybe just passing through, but great experience overall. And now I'm sort of well, I'm pretty much done with that, and so
Well,
with the casino.
tell us a little bit more about your communications. What kind of communications did you do?
So, pretty much the whole thing. So, communications is exactly what it is. It's communications. So, radios, setting up bases so that they can communicate with one another, or setting up networks. So, a lot of techie stuff. A lot of techie stuff. Did some clerical stuff in when I was. Um, with supplies for a while, so a lot of logistics and other things. Infantry, a little bit of light infantry here and there, patrols and things like that. So I think what changed my mind there was the political landscape was changing quite a bit in the last, say 10 years, and so I decided that this wasn't for me anymore. And so I took a run at starting my own business.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say thank you for your service
Oh,
first and
thank you. Thank
foremost
you.
to the
My
country.
pleasure. Yeah.
And then so you found yourself basically saying, okay, this chapter of my life is over, and
Right.
now what am I going to do? So you decided to.
Well, start a mobile telephone business. So I signed up for a dealer program to resell cellular mobile phone plans at a much more reduced rate than what typical plans would go for. So things like no contracts for 2 years, great service, and so I did that for a while until well, it's just not no longer feasible for me. But I
Yeah.
had a very good time doing that. I learned a lot from where we went to business school at Learning Initiative, which is where you and I met. And I believe it started with Captain Marketing. Yeah, that's it. So I had a great time at Learning Initiative, learning about business, how to start up my business. I don't think I could have made it without them, actually, and without that team and yourself, Aaron. And so I was successful at it for well, I suppose still successful, profitable, but not so much now. But I really had fun doing that for about 5 years, and so now here I find myself at the third milestone.
Yeah.
So now that I've gone, well, even fourth, I've had this huge, long 15 years of military service, um, some great business experience, and since I've been out of the service, I've had a lot of time to work on some personal projects, and some of them are flourishing into actual websites. This is something that we're trying out now. Um, so yeah, this is where we're at. I'm no longer selling cell phone plans,
Yeah. And
unfortunately. But
some people
if
might be
anybody out
wondering.
there,
Yeah, they're wondering why. Like, hey, you had a good gig, you had a cell phone company, and you were
sure, yeah,
successful at it, and you were very successful at it. But I
thanks.
think the landscape in the communications industry in Canada, there was a window of time that you had to get in, and that
Yes,
the window
right.
basically closed, right? Which is the way that things are done in Canada.
Well, more or less. I mean, we have this agency in Canada called the CRTC. So it's the Canadian. I'm not too sure what the acronym is at the moment. It's just not coming to me
Regulatory.
quickly enough. Regulatory, yeah, telecommunications. Uh, oh, help me out here.
Yeah,
I got
I
this
think we
is
got
going on.
3 of the 4 there. I think we're
Yeah.
pretty good.
So they allowed for the changes that they made with the legislations. They allowed for broader competition in the market and at the same time they were slapping the hands of the big three, the big Rogers, Telus, and Bell, by saying, hey, you have to sell these phones unlocked. You can't lock them in for 2 years. If there's a contract, the phone has to be unlocked, and so many rules changed. But it allowed for competition for me to enter the market as just a regular Joe. Hey, I know all about communications. I'm really good with this sort of thing. I I love dealing with people. I love the ideal of business. So
And again, right? So they had a real tight grip on the market, and so the regulatory body, because
yeah,
of the people, I think people rose up and were, because with the three working together, there's a bit of collusion, even though you don't want to say that word and you have to prove it and all that stuff. But
mhm,
we know that when there's
right,
less competition, the prices go up, and the prices were too much.
right,
They were just making it hard for anyone. So the regulatory body got in there, broke them up, said you got to make it open for other people
right,
to come in, and then that will make less competition or more competition to help with pricing and all the things. You're making it hard for people to switch providers and all these things. So that's when you stepped into the game. But we know that no matter what, those big three are not going to just sit back and take it, right?
no,
So they
no.
just basically slowly but surely, they
Squeeze the little guy out
yeah. So
more or
now they're
less.
back,
Again,
they're back kind of thing where they were
it's it.
in a
Sorry.
way.
Yeah, it's almost like a vicious circle. It's like, so the CRTC, the regulatory body, will come in, do something, but the big three always find a way to maneuver around that to make it, to make sure that they maintain their nice chunk of the market,
Yeah, and
which
it
they
did open
have.
the door. Yeah, so you
But
have providers like Eastlink now and a few
sure,
other ones, and then
right,
each of the big
right.
three have some of them
And
have
their
is
own brands,
yeah,
their own no frills brands again.
exactly.
So
So
this is sort of what happened
yeah,
with my business, whereby I was reselling Public Mobile, which Public Mobile underlying that is the TELUS network. Um, so this was a no frills brand which I could resell, gain some residuals on a monthly basis, meaning some sort of steady revenue stream coming in every month. And this was fine for a while until my network provider or operator, which is TELUS, Public Mobile, that would be the underlying network, just sort of made it even more and more difficult for resellers, and they just kind of gobbled up that
yeah,
share of the market for themselves and said, "Screw you,"
yeah.
to the
Slowly but
smaller
surely, right?
guys.
They just
So,
kind of chipped away at it, chipped away, and then eventually it's like,
and yeah,
yeah,
so
take
you're
it or
not gonna,
leave it. Here's a something that
yeah,
you're not going to make any money at. If you want to
yeah,
keep doing it, keep doing it. But
hmm hmm
so that's where you ended up there, and now you switch gears because you had to.
hmm
And but I don't know necessarily. Life sometimes throws us things like this, and you
Oh,
adapt.
does it
And
ever? Yeah.
sounds like you're on your way to some other kind of cool things. So what are
Um,
some of the things
mhm,
you're looking at doing or are doing
sure.
now?
Well, you and I are on the radio this morning, and or on live on Sudbury.news. Um, and so that's something new, and I'm hoping to incorporate maybe that with um, a little project I'm working on called techbytes.live. Um, Not sure exactly how I'm going to profit from something like that, but um, I think with that I'm going to do some sort of thing like tech tips and news,
Hmm.
whereby we might for instance we use these devices throughout the day in our lives, these tech devices, phones, tablets, and whatnot, and we pay a lot of money for these things, and we use them in the hopes that they make us more productive. They're productivity tools. And often when we purchase these things, everybody has a certain way of going about their day or their routine and the way they do things. So little tips like finding little hidden gems in today's tech, whereby hey, did you know you could do this with your cell phone? And here's a little way to do that, and just something quick and easy that you can do that doesn't take too much time in your day, and then hopefully fill up a website full of articles and to offer my own tech services to anybody who might be out there. I might include something like, cell phone repair. This is a big thing. Everybody's dropping their phones here and there, and often in need of repair. So that might be something I could offer alongside these. So here's a bunch of tech articles. You bought yourself a new home theater system, and you really, what's the best setup? I might have something there for you on my website, a block that I've written where I've played around with something or some tech, and I might even throw in some reviews. Hey, let's take a look at this. Do a live review, a quick. Right up, you might be looking, hey, you're in the market for a Bluetooth speaker. Well, here I found a little gem. And so little things that I find along the way that I learn, so many things, and then just go, it's like, wow, this is great stuff,
Yeah, and listening to you, Brian, it's like, yeah, I can really hear the spirit of an entrepreneur inside of you. You're like, I don't really know what I'm really I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna try that. See how that works, and it's risk, exactly. And you're taking what you've learned, your talents, your experience, and you're just gonna just move forward, and you're gonna learn as you go, and that's really cool. And obviously you wanna plan out things as you go as well. But there's also that R&D, that real time R&D, and we're kind of doing this, like you said, together, and that opens up just to let everyone know that Natalie and Miles. This is why I love this format of the show, because you and I were having some brain freeze going on with what the CRTC's acronym actually was, but it's the Canadian Radio Television Telecommunications Commission, which we should have known.
Thank
we
you
should
so
have known
much.
that.
Yes. I'm gonna put a tape right here at the bottom of my monitor, so I can remember.
So thanks, Natalie. Thanks, Miles, for that.
Thank you very much. Yes. Sure.
And so that's it. So that opens up.
Embarrassed.
No, don't. No, and that's the whole thing. We're all having a conversation here, and
awesome.
So on our website we have a spot for people who want to contribute, people like yourself from the community, who have something that they want to, that's newsworthy or valuable to somebody with their skills, their talents. If they want to have their own, let's say, blog or whatever, we have a spot on our website for that, for contributors like yourself. So you're on there, you're like the tech guy, and you have now an audience.
I'm hoping to be, anyways. One that has something to offer. I realize that there's, there are a dime a dozen nowadays in the different towns and cities, but I know that, I'm pretty sure that there are people out there that.
Well, I think you being a local guy.
Keep watching.
Exactly. And I think you being a local guy, again, you can like, hey, you're gonna give some tech advice or whatever that a lot of people are dealing with, but different from, like, let's say a lot of people we follow on YouTube that are tech people, and they give us tech.
I intend to be very different.
You're you're physically approachable. Like they can come to you, they can call you, they can email you and say, I have this device, can I bring it by? Can you have a look at it? Blah blah blah. Right. So that's a little different than, let's say, a tech column or whatever that you'd read in any other kind of
and I'm a pretty friendly guy, and like you say, approachable. And if you give me a call with a little something that you might be having a problem with or whatever, I do stuff, just hand out little here, try this, try that,
Yeah, exactly.
And who knows where things are going to go, but there's a new tech guy in town, and hello.
There he is, right there. So Miles is also saying, podcasts are a great way to kind of showcase new ideas and new tech.
I mean, there's just so many things that the possibilities are endless, and with something like, I've been struggling with what I wanted to do really for the last couple of years. Just where do I go next? I had so many things on the go, and then but this Tech Bites live, I think is going to be it. I'm not sure, like I say, where it's going to go. It's totally,
and sometimes the market will dictate where it goes too, right? You might have some ideas, but you'll see the market itself tells you.
Yes.
What they think are important.
But I also want to, emphasize, it's funny. I want to, throw in I want to, Sudbury is important to me too. So I want to sort of incorporate a little bit of kind of like what you do at Sudbury News. You aggregate,
Hmm.
you curate the news from different sources, but you make it local by doing a show.
Yeah, it's
Right?
basically
You make it,
you're serving the community, right? So that's what
yeah,
you're doing. So you're taking
right,
what you've learned, what you have, the skills, the abilities you have, and you serve. And that's what really a lot of businesses are, and people really don't realize that businesses are services to the community.
mm,
Sure,
mm.
you give them money in exchange for what they're offering you, but businesses are solutions to problems usually. If you look at a business
Yeah,
and you go,
right,
oh,
right,
it's a business way. Oh, I'm going to get my tires changed today. That's a solution to a problem. So I'm not
right. Well, this
crashing
is
into
it.
other cars. Like I have a problem and I need a solution, and there it is. That's a business, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes. So and
the
so modern problems, modern solutions, and this
yeah,
is sort of a plane I've been going on. So it's kind of like, what is a modern problem that we deal with today, and what is the solution? And so the question could be, like for instance, cloud storage. Hey, well, how great would it be to have your own iCloud at home? You know what I mean? It's possible.
yeah.
And so I want to show people how to do this. Those that have the savvy, or wanting to take enough time to read through the material, I'll take you through the steps step by step on the website, and you don't, and away you go. But so many great ideas. Just keep watching. I don't know what to say. The tech.live site may have something to look at maybe sometime between now and January. But at least we'll put something up to announce, something magical is about to happen. Here's what we're looking at. So some sort of introductory. I really
Yeah.
apologize if I don't have much more than that, but I can assure you it will be something exciting.
You know
And
what? And there's nothing wrong with I was going to say one of the services you could offer is consulting, right? Like a lot of people just have they just want to know how to like configure all of their home devices and make them more efficient, and maybe
right.
the right security,
Home,
home
home,
security. Yeah,
mm, home automation is a big
yeah,
subject. So that will be probably a blog category in itself,
yeah,
because I mean, you got Alexas, you got Google Assistants, there are so many ways to tackle this thing. And there's
yeah,
there's the hard way, and then there's an easier way. So I'm
yeah,
definitely going to be throwing out some stuff on home automation out there in terms of what brands work with what brands, and
yeah.
sort of, what to avoid, sort of like your mini buyer's guide sort of thing. And then
Great
maybe we
idea.
do that on some day or some. I know time is of the essence.
One of the things we really wanted to talk about, because it was getting us when we were starting to talk about this idea of coming on the show and having a tech kind of segment, was you found out something. We don't have time to go into this right now, but
No.
we will later. But you found some
Sure.
interesting things about privacy on our devices, and we thought our devices could be more private than what they are, and we didn't realize that where our data is actually ending up and who's
Actually ending
taking our
up.
data and things like that, right?
And the things that they're telling us that,
Hmm.
I mean, there's just, when you hit that agree button on anything, you turn on a brand new phone, there's a terms and conditions you have to agree to, and we all pass that screen.
Yeah.
So I did an experiment one time, just quickly. I want to see what goes on, what networks are being communicated with, and I tore down an Android system. And it was rather interesting to see where some of my data was actually ending up, and the bits that they say are supposed to be private not being so private. So one of the segments I'd like to do is basically, the top 10 privacy settings on your iPhone or Android phone, and just sort of go through that, point form on the screen, and then post the video up on the Sudbury News Tech Bytes or the Bytes section at the bottom, and then linking back also for further show notes on my own website, where can provide further detailed instructions
Yeah. So I think
on
between your own
how
podcast,
to
coming on here, doing your own canned videos, your own writing, your own kind of supports, I think that's a really robust, kind of way of just launching what you're doing and making the most of your own skills, talents, abilities, and serving the community at the same time to really help people's lives, because these are things we deal with on a daily basis is technology.
On a daily.
And who's an expert in everything? I even have members of my family that worked for IBM for years and years and years. Well, that just means they're good at, programming. It doesn't mean they know everything there is to know about everything tech. So
Right.
not everyone has a copyright on all the information. So it's really valuable to know how to do these things that we deal with on a daily basis, on a regular basis,
Right.
because technology is a huge part of our life right now. And one of the
Yeah.
things I gave you a little kind of an assignment type of thing on was
Ah.
the voting software that
Yeah.
we're using here in the city.
Right.
And do we have anything to worry about with that? But with that, I just wanted to say that the Mayor Brian Bigger initially ran against Lefebvre and 7 other mayoral candidates on October 24th. This story is from Sudbury.com in the election, but informally withdrew his candidacy earlier in the month. And
Unable to, yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
unable to remove himself from a electronic ballot. That's strange in the first place, but I mean,
Okay, yeah, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Was that along with the software they're using?
is that kind of like a way of saying I'm voting, but I'm voting none of the above? So put your check mark in Brian Bigger, and then you can
He
vote.
he, he
none of
actually
the
got
above, because he actually got 1,000. Like,
he got like
I read.
600 and some votes the last time I checked. He might have ended up with more at the end of the game, but that's a significant amount. That could have meant
Sure.
the difference. Like, let's say it was a really close race, it could have meant the difference between
I
one
mean,
mayor and
it
another.
really could. I mean, just because we haven't seen it in our lifetimes, where the vote. I mean, there have been close calls. Look at the referendum, the one referendum in Quebec.
Yep.
That one, the second one there, was come pretty darn close, and I think it was the island
Yep.
of Montreal that if it wasn't for the island of Montreal, Quebec would not be part of this province by a small.
Exactly. So that's
margin.
and that's why we're concerned. So Brian Bigger is confident that
Right.
Paula Five will do a good job. He says confident Paul
Yeah.
will guide council new ideas and his wealth of experience, which will be instrumental towards a prosperous future for Greater Sudbury. I would also like to congratulate the new and returning council members and trustees. I wish you all the best in your dedicated efforts towards making Greater Sudbury a great place to live for residents to work and play. Now, this is the thing.
Yeah.
We used did we use the same software this time as we used the last time with voting?
So I'm going to answer carefully here, because that's the very same question I asked myself when I started looking into this. And if I'm understanding, and I took a look at some public documents that are out there, like I dug through their auditor, their financial reports, to see if I might find a line in there that might indicate to me who their vendor was for the last one. And apparently, my understanding, to make it short, is that no, it is. I believe it is the same company, or the same powered by. And this is a company called, I'm not sure on the pronunciation, but it's called Cytel. So anybody who, that's SCYTL. So there's no like E between the L. It's just a weird one. But I'll post in a link in the comments for anybody who's interested. So this is powered by that company. So it's to say that the code and the software that is written that makes up the election, where you go to vote online, that is powered by them. So it's an online voting system. You go by. It's not too difficult. If you have the letter in hand and a PIN number along with that person's date of birth, those are the only 2 pieces of information you need to enter, and you can vote. So that's the online process here in Sudbury. I don't know very much more other about this company called Cytel, which is powers several municipal elections. So not just the ones in Sudbury here, but other municipalities like Markham, Richmond Hill, Toronto,
So they do list on their website which municipalities that have used their software. Is that what you're saying?
Well, they're naming a few, and then I
Okay,
think they say that
among
they
others.
over 80 among others, and I
Okay,
think the number is in the high 80s or something like
yeah,
that. So I think it's up to each city, municipality or township to decide, do we go with, there's only so many people that do this. Okay. Like, I
yeah.
mean, there's not umpteen dozen, hey, we have a voting system, Dominion, so
I heard Dominion was what we
yeah.
had last time.
Um, See this, yeah, this is where I was going to get at, and I'm not sure. I can't say
Mhm.
what was used last time, but this time, it's being run by this company, and I scratched the surface. I mean, all in all, I don't believe there's any malpractice going on there, like Evelyn might have been so concerned with. I mean, sure, voter fraud is always going to be a concern, anywhere. Because it's just too easy.
There's ways you can manipulate the voting process in any particular way. But now as technology, and that's why you're on the show, technology is becoming part of our voting, which it never did before. Technology is
No.
becoming part of our life in every way, shape, and form. Now it's actually becoming part of our democracy and our ways that we vote, and whoever is deciding how it's used or how it's not used. How regulated are these voting companies? Like you said, there's only a few of them. Who's watching over them?
That's just it. So who is watching over them? And well, yeah, who is watching over them? I know that from my own experience. I do. Since I was 18, I worked every single provincial election and federal election. Since I was 18, I don't think I missed any one because I was deployed or something like this. I've just been fortunate, and I've gotten the opportunity to work, count them on my hands and toes, at least 20, 30, 40, so many. And over the years, I've seen it evolve in terms of the logistics involved, the democracy that's involved in. And one thing that they are always consistent on is that the voting is secret, and every Canadian has the right to do so, and it's democracy. But then they would, over the years, they've gotten rid of a lot of clerical positions that were really important. These positions were there for checks and balances.
Yeah.
But when you eliminate those positions, well, now those checks and balances are gone, and they do this to make it more easier for the voter, because it's important that they vote, and
Yep.
we have to make it easy as possible for them.
And that's the thing. We do see the good in this, and I want to, and we got to leave it at there, unfortunately, just because of time.
Yeah,
And
no, that's fine.
I think this is just a great introduction of not only you and what you're going to, contribute to the show, but of this subject as well, because I don't think this is the last we're going to hear of this subject.
No.
How technology is in all aspects of our life, and especially voting. That's something that Miles asked. The last question of the day was basically, the question is too, how easily can the system be hacked? Now we can't.
Too.
Yeah, we cannot unpack that at this time just because we're out of time.
No.
But we do need to continue this conversation, and we should.
I would love to, yeah.
Yeah, and let's do this. So, Brian, for your first time on the show, holy cow, thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Awesome.
So
awesome.
grateful to have you here. Thank you. And we're looking forward to all the things that are possible with working together.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. I'm stoked. So yeah,
cool.
I'm gonna go and yeah.
Yes, Brian.
I'm gonna go do the Homer dance there.
Brian Poulet, techbites.live, and he's going to be part of Sudbury.news in the contributor section. So look forward to his Tech Bites as time moves on, and he'll have more and more as technology is just so huge in our lives that it'll make a great contribution to our community in that way. So thanks, Brian. So thanks all of you for liking and sharing and subscribing and all that stuff. Have a great one. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU. Have a great weekend. Be back
Awesome.
on.
Take it easy.
Take it easy. Halloween. Ciao on Monday.
Ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.